So recently, wrestlers have been doing a very good job of establishing themselves as one of, if not the best base for MMA, especially if you want to make a living out of it. But you've got a guy like Kade Ruotolo, who's a world-class jiu-jitsu athlete, making some noise, in part due to his ability to hunt and finish head and arm chokes. So in this video, I'm going to break down some of the anatomy and kinesiology of the head and arm choke that Kade used for the win against his most recent opponent, Nicolas Vigna. All right, so for this first view, we're going to start where Kade is transitioning from mount. Okay, we're going to stop here and talk about first the conditions that need to be met for a head and arm choke, like the arm triangle. Okay, so first of all, the carotid arteries need to be occluded, and then there needs to be a pressure on the back of someone's head, making sure that they can't extend their spine. Okay, so somebody pressure from the back, and then pressure from both sides of the carotid arteries to occlude those arteries. Okay, so now we're going to start with what is happening whenever Kade is doing the choking. Okay, so whenever we see Kade transition from mount, we see a couple of things. He's really lean, so we can see the outline of his parascapular muscles, particularly the ones that are on the inside of the scapula or medial to the shoulder blade. Okay, so we can see the outline of the entire trapezius, so lower, middle, and upper trap, which is involved, especially the fibers, the middle fibers of the trap, in scapular retraction, which we've talked about in previous videos. Also, if we were to take that middle trap and kind of splay it over, we would see the rhomboids, which also play a role in scapular retraction. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to notice. The second thing is that you can really see his shoulder extensors here. So shoulder extension by muscles like the posterior delt, and then we have the lat. We also have some of the teres major. So, and there are other muscles involved in that, some even the tricep, the long head of the tricep that crosses the shoulder. So a lot of muscles that are helping extend the shoulder, because he has that really good connection with his right hand here after he's already kind of met those conditions for the choke. And we'll look at Vigna's position later. And then on the other side, you can't really see this arm. You'll see it better in another position. But the posterior chain here, and you can actually see when he's trying to finish it, he starts to come up and put a little bit of pressure up on the pressure of his body weight up on Vigna's right arm is also kind of helping occlude that right carotid artery. And then we're going to move finally to his neck. So you can't really see it here, and because he's not moving it. This is called an isometric contraction. But Kade is isometrically side bending his neck to the right to add to the occlusion pressure of the right arm of Vigna. All right, so we've got the shoulder retractors in the thoracic spine, on the scapular muscles. We've got the shoulder extensors. We've got the muscles of his neck, like the scalenes in the upper trap. And we also see him using his body weight really well to create that occlusion pressure, or help create that occlusion pressure on the right side. Second view, we're still talking about Kade, but it gives us a lot better understanding of what the right arm is doing. Okay, so the right arm here, you can't really see his bicep. You can see that in the next view, but his bicep is actually what's providing that occlusion pressure on Vigna's left side of his neck, so his left carotid artery. And again, you can see that posterior delt here, but muscles like the anterior delt, the muscle on the other side of his arm, and the pec major, which you can't see here because it's kind of pressed up against Vigna's chest, are performing a movement called horizontal adduction. So he's got that connection. Remember, we talked about that connection in the last view with the left hand. So he's extending his arm here, but in this view, since he's got that connection, he's able to create that really tight bite on his arm, on his head and arm. So the head and arm choke. So coupled with this horizontal adduction and shoulder extension, he's able to get that really tight bite again. Okay, so that was a really good view of that. Now let's move to the view where Vigna is actually being choked, and you can see that really well. All right, so this last and final view is an absolutely beautiful view. You can see all of the choke conditions that we talked about being met before. So Kade's pressure and the ground is what's keeping Vigna from being able to kind of extend his spine away from this choke. So you can see the position that Vigna's arm is in, right arm, to help occlude the carotid artery on the right side. So Kade's putting his pressure in. His shoulder is in a combination of positions: maximum abduction, and then a little bit of horizontal adduction. Okay, so the muscle bellies of the anterior delt and the bicep help provide that occlusion to the right side. Now, Kade's bicep on the right side is what's providing the left-sided occlusion. Okay, so we've met all three conditions. He can't extend his cervical spine away from the choking pressure. He's got the pressure coming to the right side to occlude the carotid artery on the right side, and then the pressure to occlude the carotid artery on the left side. And then obviously when all those conditions are met, as well as Kade does here, then you have to tap. And so Kade is doing a really good job of showing again that grappling can be a pretty good base for MMA, potentially the best base for MMA. Maybe not jiu-jitsu, maybe wrestling still, but Kade is showing that jiu-jitsu has a place in that conversation. So awesome stuff, and I hope he continues to do well.